of Sand by Geetanjali Shree. Translated by Daisy Rockwell. Part 2. Sunlight. The first thing you see when you open the door to Betty's flat is the green belt beyond the balcony at the end of the long open hallway, and above that, the blue canopy of sky. The sight brings peace to closed eyes, and might even inspire them to open. This is not the door to Buddy's house, where a slight vibration would stop Betty in mid-gesture as she stepped in or out, making her wonder, did someone say something? Where she would be thrown into a quandary. Is the me going inside really me, or am I back there? Where was I coming from? Or where the Reeboks of a sister-in-law would cause directional confusion for her, raising questions as to which woman was the insider and which the outsider. No, this is not that door. This is the door that opens to reveal a world created by Betty alone. Of course, every door has its importance. It has its own personality, even in a ruin. Nowadays, people only notice a door's imposing outer style and use that to assess the financial worth of its owner. But a door can hint at so many much more. The charm, caprice, awkwardness, romance, aversion, joy, uninhibited sweeping, swaying, excitement, prickling sensation of the person crossing the threshold. When you pass from inside out or outside in, take note. Doors have eyes, eyes that open, blink, stare, accuse, feel peace or boredom. Yes, yes, doors get bored at the constant flow of the same people filling in and out each day. A door may avert its gaze, or even atrophy, like a limb falling into a disuse. Sure, there's still blood in your veins, a covering of flesh, but you can end up with atrophied mind, eyes, soul, heart, and a turned back. Did the bored door awake when Betty arrived supporting her collapsing mother? It peaked a bit from its hinges. The cane moved forward. Ma's eyes opened slightly. She was taking in the balcony across the hall, the green boundary wall of foliage beyond it, and beyond that, the domed medieval tomb. That first day, the soft sparks of the sun's last rays shone delicately through the thicket of trees. The sight of the forestry department's protected woodland was bound to please the eye and create a sense of peace. If Beatty had said so, we might have doubted her, but there was no room for doubting the feeling that shone from Ma's eyes. In this version of Ma, at least, exhausted, limping, coughing, semi-conscious. That which is perceived in a state of semi-consciousness is true, unvarnished reality. A somnambulant revelation. This is what causes deep meditative trances. Two colors have profound importance in art and beauty, blue and green. They signify the entirety of the sky. They comprehend all that exists in nature. From these flow oxygen, from these the knot unfastens. And so the colors blue and green saluted. Drowsy eyes travelled into the house, sliding down the open hall, beyond the books and pictures and furnishings, towards the clarion call of the balcony. Ahead among the stand of trees, the green birds perching on the small medieval dome flew up in unison, as if in a gun salute. Ma started and laughed. "Why did you laugh?" asked Betty. "It just happened." "It just happened that you laughed?" Betty laughed too. Perhaps Ma felt her breath might return here. "I will indulge in some silence. I'll just be me, and no one else. I'll have my own rhythm, none other. No one else will make me fall, make me wobble." And why shouldn't she think like this? Here, away from boredom, familiar and familial, away from the chaos, away from all the same old sounds, sights, objects. Exhausted Ma could think all these things because exhaustion is also a state of slumber, a trance like state where revelations are born. But yes, an exhausted mind might not be thinking anything. This is also a possibility. Why couldn't it be that Betty simply understood the meaning of Ma's breathing, of her rhythm, taking all the burden of all women? She'd been worrying about her mother's lamentable state. Today she was presenting Ma with a new life. She would make her live again. Inspired, she put her arm around Ma's shoulders. Ma hesitated at the door, leaning on her cane, assessing this virtually doorless, wall-less home. Betty smiled. The gaze never gets stuck in my home. It's not obstructed in any way. In the small hallway, umbrellas and sticks in a large porcelain stand. To one side, a shelf to place one's shoes, dusty from the world. One choose one of the pairs of colorful sandals arrayed there, if one wishes, while seated on the low carved wooden seat next to that. A lightweight door decorated with peacock feathers, as though made of feathers itself, which is open and leads into a guest room decorated in lavender and green. Here, too, books, paintings, and idols. Open the sliding door of the wardrobe there, and you will see long coats hanging, a folding ironing board and iron, a heater, and so forth. And in the corner, beyond garlands of sandalwood flowers, a bathroom, and at a distance another open door, though it's too far to see what's on the other side. The rest of the home a long, wide open great room. Aside from the waist high, light-weight walls or bookshelves, there are only playful partitions, like the ridges of earth that divide fields. Hmm. Should one call these walls or what? The gaze leaps over them exuberantly and slides into the study, where there's a table, chair, computer, bookshelf, and beyond these the sitting room, where you can sit on the sofa or on the old railway station waiting room armchair in front of the TV. But no need to turn on the TV like at Buddy's house, where it plays all the time, even when no one's around. And ahead, oh my, there hovers a swing on which to sway and gaze at the paintings hanging all around, or glance outside at the balcony, which at this time is on the other side of the open sliding glass door. And to the right, the dining table and four chairs, and behind those, another low wall, and the kitchen, tomato red and nut brown, and on its wall an open window through which peers a neem tree, and in every direction inside stumbles upon out, as though asking, "Are you more open, or are we?" And the gaze skips and plays in endless space. Betty took Amma to the end of the colorful hall, to the door inlaid with stones of many hues. "Here," she said. "Inside is the main bedroom, an airy room. Here too are glass window and door, with neem people and jar, fanus, trees affectionately peeping in at you. Artistic objects on shelves, walls like blue lakes, in which one has the sensation of swimming like a fish, or of simply being exhausted." Ma lay down for a moment and began to snore softly. Poor bewildered Ma, thought Betty, becoming the mother now. Tears welled up in her eyes. Whenever mothers see those they gave birth to in such a state, all their attention is pulled to a single point of focus. Then nothing can come between mother and child, no other person, no other desire, besides the desire to give one's child everything. "I'll make my child's star twinkle." All egotism and success on one side, mother-daughter on the other. There is no pride like a mother's pride. Betty became the mother, and made Ma the daughter, and stroked her brow. "Now she has come home. I won't let her go away." How weak she has become. If it weren't for me, she'd fall right over. She started panting just from walking such a short distance. She could have fallen down anywhere. So many people around to care for her, supposedly, but no one did look after her. Poor helpless thing. She still has dust cake on her here and there. How long must it have been since she bathed? Let her sleep. After that, I'll give her a sponge bath. You see, if I don't bring her slowly back to life. Psychologists say that the aspect of our nature which comes to the fore the moment we enter a room or gathering has the strongest influence in shaping our future. As soon as she entered that room, Ma went to sleep, and the daughter became the mother. Now, when she wakes from sleep, there will be a new life. After that, it's every woman for herself. Amen. Chapter 2. Ma woke the next morning in a leisurely fashion. She stretched, eyes closed. Betty jumped out of bed. A painting by S. H. Raza hung from before Ma. Numerous orange dots flew into the picture from behind her eyelids and began to stir up Raza's dots, making them feel as though they didn't have to be blocked up inside their boring metal frame. The name of the picture was When the Wind Was Wind. Had Ma read it from behind her eyelids? She opened her eyes and saw her daughter, and flashed a smile that made it clear that sleep had poured her exhaustion into its sack and dispatched it to a point of no return. Her gaze, darting about from here to there, was neither sleepy nor exhausted, neither erratic nor aggrieved, neither bitten nor bored, neither apathetic nor thoughtless. No longer so tired, everything she saw and heard was the same old, same old. Sure, it felt a bit dreamlike. Am I awake, or am I asleep? A new gaze for a newborn, that cried, "Aha, aha!" as the world unfurled before it for the very first time. Ma lifted her hands in the air as if to embrace the light-soaked dots which caressed her face. She ran her tongue over her lips so she could taste their warmth. Babies are eager to stuff anything into their mouths. Once, as a child, Sid had stuffed an overturned cockroach into his mouth in this very spirit. It was removed. He was given a slap in exchange, and Sushila has consoled the sobbing Bahu, "Don't cry, dear. We would worry if it had been a snake. But it wasn't, wasn't it?" Ma stuck her legs out from under the quilt. Children turn their legs into all sorts of things when they are lying down. Scissors, spears, tops, cycles, and who knows what. Ma did no such thing. But the gaze has no age, and in her gaze twirled a top that set off roaming through this new world. "Will you get up?" Beatty peered at her. Of course she will get up. How long has she been asleep? It's definitely time to get up now. Beatty seemed very tired. She hadn't slept well. She hadn't been able to sleep all night for worrying about Ma. If Ma moved just a little, she was on the alert. What was that? What's happening? Does she need to go to the bathroom? If Ma didn't get up, she felt even more alert. Was her breathing growing weaker and weaker still? She also found it difficult to sleep because of Ma's light, unfamiliar snoring. And then again, Betty was no longer in the habit of sleeping this close to another person. Ma shivered and wiggled as she slept, like a little girl dreaming, and periodically twitched as though shucking off her exhaustion. Then she would snore even more deeply, but Betty would wake with a start and stare ahead unblinkingly, wide awake, as though seeing can only be done at night. "What is it?" she would ask out loud, but Amma would be lying there sleeping happily. Thank you, Lord," Betty would think, feeling deeply grateful and satisfied. This was the first night. What was happening now would continue to happen. As the world sleeps, destiny shapes the future like a potter. Ma did not say, "No, I won't get up." She said, "Yes," and began attempting to rise all by herself. Betty leapt up and held out Ma's cane, and held on to Ma herself, saying, "Come, let's drink some tea on the balcony." Chapter 3. So, the first moment, which has already indicated the path forward, it will be morning. There will be tea on the balcony. There will be lots of jumping around. On the part of Betty, she began to leap up at Ma's every movement. She would come running to help her at the slightest thing, like a fussing mother. During the day, of course, but also at night. This will be the routine for the coming nights. Every time Ma gets up to go to the bathroom, which will be at least 3 or 4 times a night, once around 11 o'clock, once around 2, once at 4, then at 6 or 6:30, Betty will jump out of bed, or at least she won't be asleep, but always at the ready. What little sleep she gets seems only to render her more alert. An ordinary movement and a leap and a question, or a switching on of the flashlight. Then Ma will snap, "If you won't sleep, I'll stop getting up." But really, how was that feasible? One had no choice but to get up, and she was no longer that "I won't get up" bundle. So Betty would keep quiet but wakeful. She'd silently watch Ma getting up. Ma would sit up, rest a few moments, then slip into her flip-flops, shuffle her feet a bit, reach out for her cane, and get carefully to her feet. A dog would bark, a truck would pass. Ma would stumble, brace her hand against the wall. Betty poised to jump up, but then dropping back. As Ma pushes open the bathroom door, the circle of light grows, and Betty quickly shuts her eyes. Ma is inside. There are some sounds. She's sitting down. All is quiet for a long time. How long? Betty silently gets up, creeps to the door like a cat, presses her ear to it. Why is there no sound? Then shuffling feet. Betty goes to the other bathroom. On her return, she hears nothing. What's going on? She peeks through the crack. Amma is sitting on the pot. She's peaceful. She's just sitting there. What to do? Betty goes into the kitchen, drinks some water, comes back. Now what? Ma still hasn't emerged from the bathroom. Amma? Betty calls out from the bed. Go to sleep, snaps Amma sternly. Betty keeps quiet, then creeps out of bed again, presses her ear to the door, and peers through the crack. What are you doing? Oh, do go to sleep, Ma says in a tone that's part angry, part pleading. Now the splashing of running water. Ma doesn't feel right unless she washes herself. Use the loo paper at night, Betty had said. Then you won't need to go so often. You have forgotten how mothers make their children go, how they sprinkle water on them, and then the pee comes out. But Ma must clean herself with water. Then she has to wash her hands carefully, and she has to go again and again. And when she pushes open the door, the light suddenly shrinks, and Betty instantly switches on the torch. Oof, you're not asleep. You'll be tired, Ma chides. For this reason, sleep has abandoned Betty and gone into the next compartment, because she's used to sleeping in the dark. She's used to sleeping alone. She's used to sleeping without other sleepers wiggling nearby. She's used to sleeping with an untroubled mind. Ma had rebuked her, but she felt such peace with her daughter close by, as the sleeping body demonstrated. At every slip and slide of Betty, Ma slid too, and each time nestled her head in the crook of Betty's arm, as though sleep depended on her body maintaining contact with Betty's, sensing Betty's presence, thus enabling her to let go of her worries and stretch out and fall asleep peacefully. And so it happened that at every movement of Ma, the already awake Betty grew ever more so. She feared she might fall asleep and sprawl towards Ma, accidentally knock into her with a hand or foot, waking her up. So she kept sliding closer to the edge of the bed, and sleeping Ma kept seeking out Betty's presence, sliding right after her and sticking to her as Betty lay holding her breath. In the coming nights, Betty would lie scrunched up on the edge of the bed, tittering along the side slats, Ma's head on her arm, the rest of Ma's body taking up the entire bed. If Betty slid any further, her hands and feet would hang off the edge. By morning, Ma would be happily stretched out across the bed, and Betty shrunken, falling off the edge, feet hanging near the floor as though already preparing to stand. Ma's eight-armed pose, her Ashtabhuj mudra, was a sight worth seeing. But who was there to witness it? Only the sunlight, which arrived each morning, kissing Ma's face, and then she would rise, and the two of them would sit and gaze affectionately at each other, Ma and the sun. Chapter 4th. Ma began to rise with the sun and spread throughout the house, first with her eyes, then with her whole being. When she saw Ma's eyes open amidst the dots of sunshine on her face, Betty would say, "Let's go." She'd jump up and hand Ma the cane and support her as well. She suffered so, poor Amma, and she lay there so sadly at Buddy's house. It made her legs steadily weaker. But I'm here now. We'll see if I don't make her nice and healthy. She titters along right now, grabbing onto things. But she'll learn to walk. I'll teach her. Just wait and see. The morning sun rose over the doomed dome in the woods across the way and winked at the balcony. Ma set out in that direction, then stopped. Betty grabbed onto her, and "Oh, oh, oh, I'm falling, I'm falling." Ma took a breath, then Betty took one, and their breathing became as one. Early days. Ma had to find her balance, her own pace. On the balcony she lowered herself carefully into the easy chair and let her gaze roam about between sips of tea, sometimes straight ahead, sometimes behind, twisting and turning with the sunlight. The sunlight began to roll about before Ma like a satisfied animal, and the entire balcony was tinted gold. Betty believed that it was she who was leading Ma out to the balcony. She didn't know the sunlight cast a loop over the cane and tugged Ma insistently forwards. As the time went by, Ma was seen moving about the house with the sunlight. Wherever the sun goes, there goes Ma, sitting or reclining, and sometimes standing, sunlight smitten. In a home where the sky trees breeze come a knocking at every window and door, sunlight flows in easily and plays with Ma affectionately, affectingly. Yes, at first Ma steadies herself from falling from the lap of sunshine. Ah, 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 ah. Later she has seemingly grown up, and the two of them march about the house all day, arm in arm, on the balcony until breakfast. Then when Ma's in the bathroom, then who knows, the sunlight sneaks in there too, because when she emerges, she is bathed in sunlight. In the beginning, the motherly daughter also slips into the bathroom with Ma because Ma is so weak. This detail may arise again in the future. Ma emerges, swaying along, leaning on sunlight and cane. Shimmer, shimmer, and seeing her gait, the sunlight is of course reminded of the swing. It smiles crookedly and leans down towards the swing to softly settle Ma in, and the two of them lounge there. Betty thinks it's she who is settling Ma, but Betty is in the habit of thinking too much. The sunlight is so fond of Ma's beaming on the swing that it shines and beams as well, even overdoing it a bit. The butterflies flutter in the warmth of the golden glow that coats the glittering cane resting by her side. The sunlight feels a bit too hot now. they seem to say, and squirm in its heat as Ma shifts a little. The sun understands this and snaps out of it. What am I doing? It begs forgiveness, lifts Ma up. The two of them go to the dining table, where the sunlight seats her nearer the shade, slides affectionately down to her feet, and rests there. Even after that, the two of them continue to move about together, and depending on Amma's wishes, the sunlight toasts her middle, warms her back, hums during her afternoon nap. Ah, the sunlight descending into the body, the swinging of the breeze on the skin. As though for the first time the body is sensing itself, letting out a pleasurable sort of "ow, ow" at the caresses of sunlight. Ma turns with the sunlight, throws back her head with happiness on the large bed, then pulls the pillow forward so its crooked scrunches it this way and that, as the sunlight plays with her, until evening, when it seats Ma on the sofa, turns vermilion and begins to melt away from the balcony window. It slowly recedes as though it really doesn't feel like leaving, but can't do injustice to the night. Each must take its turn. It sprinkles a last bit of crimson on Ma as it finally departs. Ma wraps herself in her quilt, relaxed now. She knows full well, whether or not she admits it to herself, that the sun is sure to return tomorrow. When Ma again has the strength to lift her arms, she will dip her cane into the sunshine and roam about all day, coloring the walls of the house such as they are, and everything else within those walls, as though with an uplifted brush. That is, she will take the sunshine on her rounds as though the two of them share a girlish bond. First my turn, then yours. Chapter 5. But since everyone has their own self-delusions, why single Betty out for blame? The growing bigger daughter looks after the tiny mother so thoughtfully, slowly, day by day, and how carefully she cares for her, as though she is a glass doll. Amma too behaves as though she might break. Betty oils her hair. She parts her hair to make sure no white varnish or other such unpleasantness lingers. Ma still has trouble holding up her head, and she cries, "Eek, ow," as she feels the fingers run through her hair. Amma. Betty glares affectionately, turning into the mother figure. But it hurts. Ma cannot yet bend nor turn. Just a little bit tires her. Betty will bathe her. She sends Munturi to the bazaar to get holes drilled in the plastic chair, so the water will flow through and Ma can sit down comfortably. Ma sits wherever Betty seats her, however Betty wants, and Betty bathes and washes her. She objects weakly. "Go away, eek. I'm not about to take everything off in front of you." "Oh, come on now. I'm behind you. It's not as if I'm looking anyway. And what does it matter? I'm your daughter." Betty scolds. "Ew!" when Betty rubs in the shampoo. Ma's body is revealed as though it's emerging from ages of grime and weakness, and Ma is slowly getting to know it anew. And just now everything is extremely delicate. It hurts. Ick! Ow! Wherever you touch it. But there are chilblains on her feet. Ma got lost, didn't she? Blisters on her soles. Smooth the skin out slowly with the pumice stone. Betty bends over Ma from behind and scrubs everywhere with the sponge. Ma whimpers as though feeling her body for the first time. Betty splashes water and rinses her off. From beneath the leather emerges a shiny new body. She sits up and wipes her off. Then she wraps her in a large towel, helps her stand, and brings her to the outside room. Ma, soft and delicate, and naked as a baby. "Look," Ma says. There are red and blue marks all over her arms. Betty's stunned. Did I rub too hard? Marks on Ma's back as well. These are marks of the missing day story, which is also missing. Betty doesn't want to remind her by asking, "Where did you sleep?" What did you eat? Betty can't ask anything. Ma was wearing shoes when they found her. So did she leave the house on purpose? How? Alone? Leaning on her cane? Betty doesn't ask. She's busy getting rid of that nightmare, washing and wiping it away. She pours baby oil onto her palms and rubs it into Ma's skin. Ma ow eeks as though the pain is truly giving her pleasure, and she is feeling it in every pore. She sees the orange juice, chirps with joy, and stretches her legs out languorously. These are the early days. Betty does everything: the bathing, washing, feeding, walking. But she will not need to do this always. Ma will grow strong. She'll do everything herself. She'll bathe herself, wash, eat, walk. Betty will leave the room and Ma will cheerfully morph into an eight-armed being once again. Chapter 6. A stem, a petal. Yes, indeed, says Ma, drinking tea on the balcony. There should be plants out here. But when I have to go away on trips, Betty protests. Who will look after them then? Then who will look after them? Ma also says. They both laugh and decide on a gardener to help Ma sink her hands into the soil. And doesn't matter, Betty thinks. Let her be happy, do whatever she wants. Here there are none of those rules as at Burry's, none of his wife's demands, none of the foibles of the bureaucrats. Wear as you want, speak what you wish. We are free. Let's make a garden on the balcony. Every day another plant walks in and climbs into another pot, then toddles about like Ma, like baby Rama is in Tulsidas. Thumak chalat Ramchandra, Bajat Pejaniya. Ramchandra toddles along, anklets are tinkling. Ma walks along, stopping in bits of sunlight, resting her cane on a flower pot, raising her hands in the air to stretch, resting them on her waist, swiveling right, swiveling left. The plants dance too, right and left. What is happening? Laughs Betty. She is enjoying Ma's slow awakening. Feels good. Waist feels sore from sitting so long in the bathroom. Amma speaks of pain, but in tones of joy. You feel pain from everything, says Betty affectionately. If medicine goes in the air, the arrow goes crackle snap inside. If I cut your nails, then eek, gritting the teeth. It happens. Ma whimpers. Look, this has turned red. It already was, Betty looks. But it was a tiny dot. Look how it's grown. And look over here. This one's turning purple. And listen what happened yesterday. I was sleeping and I wet the bed. Ma says, today I'll take isabgol and gastromone too. Do you know how little come out? No more than the tip of a fingernail. Ma sharing her constipation pains. She clucks, cries out, unrestrained at the smiles she chooses. These secrets goings on rage in her belly. Wart, mole, pimple, freckle, busting and busting these was becoming Ma's daily ritual. Patting her arms and legs, glaring, staring, pulling off clothing from here, extending limbs in the light, and looking there. This one's itchy too. It's spreading a bit too. It's gotten darker. Last week it was just a pinprick. Now it's more like a boil. What if something's wrong? As if not just some boil, pimple, wart, with tiny telltale buds breaking out on the chest of an ignorant young girl. Ma speaks of her body like an excited girl who says, listen, good news. My period started. I won't go to school today. I'll take Dispirine and lie in the sun with a hot water bottle. Or secretly showing, look, hair has started to grow here. She couldn't have any fun then. So now, or whenever you feel the new shoots in your body, the budding, it's the time for the skin to ripple, to feel alive, ecstatic, start to feel the intensity of being born. Again, your body is your body, whether it's your 16th year, 17th, or 78th year prance about struttering about burgeoning blossoming shape. An incandescent breeze may come, or the sunlight slap and makes you blossom and bloom like a tree or a plant. She stoops over to examine and inspect herself, sniff at her armpits, her buds crackling open. When a new plant sways, it's not the wind that makes it dance. Its ripples come from within. The neck seeks itself with exultation. It prances and struts. No worries, Betty assures her. It happens with age. Secrets. Notes between girls. My first day is like a gushing tap. Mine lasts a whole week. My third day is just drop, drip, drip, then it's over. Dude, when I got up from my lesson, oh my god, there was a fresh spot on the sofa. I see it, my tutor sees it, both of us turn as red as the spot. Amidst intimate conversations, girls burst out laughing. These joys of the body, they throw you off balance. Is a heavy flow more fun or a light one? So hard to decide. Chapter 7. All is peaceful. Nothing is happening. Just how Ma likes it. Ah, says Ma. Array, softly, says Betty. Ma is looking at her arm. What are you looking at, Amma? She is basking in the sun. Amma is. There's a mole on her arm. Look, says Amma. It wasn't there before. I don't like it. It doesn't hurt, does it? No, but it's yucky. It itches. Ma pouts. Forget about it. Betty cajoles her. Ma has forgotten. All that bickering behind her tired back. D.V. Paluskar is singing Raga Shri, Hari Ke Charan Kamal. His voice circles softly above the mother-daughter conversation. The sun has bowed its head in an attitude of farewell. Betty turns a page, sets the table with poppy red plates, pulls out her chair, shuts the masala tin, takes a bottle from the fridge. Buzz goes the mixer. The hand on the clock goes tick, tick. The redness of the sun will return tomorrow. The books all arranged on the shelf. Shadows lace about. Then Pulkari shawl flutters softly. A needle falls. The silent voice of night. Quiet does not mean soundless. It is quiet, nesting within sound. Silence gathers behind one's back. One hears the sound of one's own breathing.